I'll go ahead and call the Nottingham Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 to order. I'll have everyone go around the room and introduce themselves.
Skip Severance.
I am Chris Evans.
John Decker, Selectman, filling in for John Warren.
Teresa Bascom.
Edward Veal.
Drew Stevens.
Doug Cummings.
Blair Haney, SRPC.
And there's a number of individuals in the room tonight. If you didn't already, please just make sure to sign in on the sign-in sheet. It's for recording of the minutes. So we have a number of items on our agenda tonight. A couple of public hearings for new cases, as well as public hearings for, first public hearings for proposed warrant article changes for zoning amendments. So we will tackle the case list first in order. The first item is case number 25-001 SUB Stoddard, 163 Stevens Hill Road. This is the initial public hearing. It's an application from Jones and Beach Engineers, Inc. on behalf of James Sigmund, requesting a two-lot conventional subdivision, property located at 163 Stevens Hill Road, Nottingham, New Hampshire, identifies tax map 48, lot 2-3. As part of this, a conditional use permit has been applied for, and I believe there's a waiver as well. Stevens Hill Road is a scenic town road. So, Mr. Guy, if you could, please introduce yourself and give us a quick overview of your proposal, please.
Good evening. My name is Barry Geyer. I'm here for the applicant. This project is located at 163 Stevens Hill Road. And my reading of, just to clarify, my reading of the scenic road is this portion of it is not located in the scenic road district. Just to clarify, I believe that's the case, but.
We can try to confirm that.
It's lot 48, and lot 48 is not included,
Okay.
at least
I'll make a
as far
note.
as I know. All right, so the project consists of 24.8 acres in the residential agricultural zone. It's a long lot. It has over 405 feet of frontage on Stevens Hill. The intent is to subdivide the existing lot into two single-family lots. Lot 23A is the north lot, would be 2.12 acres, and lot 23, or 2-3 would be the remaining, which is 22.69 acres. Access to the 30,000 square foot building envelope for 2-3, which I'm gonna flip my sheet here. You can see the building envelopes in the hatch area. Access to the building envelope for 2-3 requires crossing the existing wetland. Therefore, we are requesting conditional use permit to construct the driveway. The wetland impacts are 2,688 square feet and a buffer impact of 4,909 square feet. The application also includes a waiver request, waivers to Article 8, Section 8.3.6. We are requesting a waiver to allow for partial topography to be completed due to the long, narrow nature of the lot. We did about 850 feet of topography, which we believe all the items can fit inside. We are on the Concom agenda for Monday to discuss the conditional use permit. We did receive staff comments from Mr. Haney, which we believe we can address. And with that, take any questions the board has.
All right, thank you. And just clarify, you said you were on the Concom agenda for next Monday, the 13th?
Yeah.
Mr. Haney, do you want to speak towards application completeness?
Sure. Yeah, as I note in my staff report, I don't see any reason to consider this application incomplete. It has everything that it needs. He is asking for, or the applicant is asking for a waiver, as he mentioned, for topography. The board has reviewed that favorably in the past, but take this one as it comes to you. And then I can go over comments later. But yes, as far as completeness, I think it's fine.
Okay. And then for anybody in the room that's not used to this process, the first thing the planning board has to do when they're in receipt of an application is act on application completeness. And if an application is found to be complete, and then the board can get into higher level discussion and open the public hearing for public comment. So Is there any question from the board or discussion from the board regarding application completeness? If not, motion would be in order.
Move to approve the application as completed.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
As a motion by Mrs. Bascom, a second by Mr. Stevens, is to approve the application as complete. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Oftentimes, the second, we handle a second motion to make sure we do not miss it. The second part usually is regarding development of regional impact. Does the board want to discuss that at all? If not, motion regarding whether or not this is an application of regional impact would be in order.
Move to deem the application as not an regional impact.
Has no reason.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Mr. Severance. So a motion by Mrs. Bascom, a second by Mrs. Bascom, second by Mr. Severance, that this is not an application with regional, development of regional impact. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm just gonna abstain because
Abstain?
I don't know what that means.
Sure. Yeah. I'll clarify for anybody, because it's some, you know. So it's best practice to act on every case that there is to, it's an RSA about, that kicks off additional criteria if the board feels there is a development does have regional impact. That usually means it's, potentially has an impact to surrounding communities, is the quickest way, either police, fire, resources, natural resources, other things like that, traffic. So if this was a 100-lot subdivision and it was coming in through another town, something like that. So we get them from Raymond quite a bit with some of the larger commercial stuff that they're seeing. All right. That's it. So that's it for the board on this part. Mr. Guyer, did you want to go further in detail than you've had a chance to provide to us already, or do you want us to go to staff?
No, I mean, it's kind of it's a 2-lot road frontage subdivision. We do have to reach our buildable or building envelope, we would have to cross the wetland. And so we have the conditional use permitting for that. We try to limit it and cross at the most narrowest point. If they decide, the real intent is to build on lot 2-3A immediately, and in the future, potentially something could be built on the remainder. So they would have to get a wetland permit through the state if they ever decide to build on 2-3 the remainder.
Does that mean the driveway as well?
That would be for the driveway,
Right.
the wetland permit.
But they won't be building that until they decide they're gonna put something over there?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, the intent is to subdivide for the family, so one of the family members is proposing to build on the property.
So they don't need a permit to cross the wetland to get to 2-A for a road?
2-3A doesn't have wetlands in the frontage.
Oh, so it's this direction.
Correct, so the house is gonna go here right on the frontage, basically. The wetland is
Right.
here, so there is insufficient area on the west side of the wetland for the 30,000 K building envelope. So to show that, we had to go beyond the wetlands, so they would have to construct that. And the regs require that we actually have for the CUP for that crossing at this time.
Okay.
Got it.
Now, there's an existing crossing there with some old timbers. Well, how does that apply?
If it's what we call a woods road, then we always try to cross at the most narrow
Right.
location, which
And there's
hopefully
already
that
a
would be-
crossing there, so
That doesn't really count,
it does not count.
right? If it's not permitted through the Wetlands Bureau, the state, and through the town, then it doesn't count as a crossing.
Okay. Just maybe, the lot envelope in our definition says either areas unfit for building and their setbacks, or building setbacks. Which one did you use on the front to calculate that your 30,000 couldn't fit,
The building setbacks.
the building setbacks?
And all the existing setbacks, yeah, consisting of upland slopes. So we have to be within the building setbacks.
And there was not 30,000 up there?
Oh, you mean on the southern lot? No. No, not in this area. It's it's pretty busy with the topography on that one. So maybe I'll get A2 might be a little bit better. Yeah, because this would be the building envelope. I believe that we could fit a house up there, but we can't fit the 30K in there.
Oh, right, and it's, would it be there, it seems like it would be better to have a house up in the front area than to cut across wetlands and over the hills and through the woods up onto rocky, ledgy spots.
I am 100% in agreement with you, and if and when they decide to construct, they may have to seek relief if they have to ask for relief to build in that area. But for the subdivision, we have to ask to access through the 30,000. So, yeah, I agree with you.
So, for my planning board members, I'd just like to say that the additional impacts and the long driveway to get to that far back area creates a lot more impacts than having the lot envelope close to the road, which is a very beautiful open field. It's a great spot and perfect for a house, and it's just too bad they can't, put the house towards the front and not impact the wetland areas to the rear.
So that said, that area, if you look at sheet A2, I'm guessing that what would be contiguous uplands in that section is probably less than 10,000 square feet or
Yeah.
somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah,
So to
I
fit a
looked, we
4K.
looked at it previously. I think it's around that, 10,000 square feet. It's definitely so the building setback and the septic setback for the town are different things.
Yes.
So we could fit the building and the septic in that front area, but we can't meet the 30K requirement for the building envelope.
We are talking about changing the lot envelope definitions now in our town, so
Yep.
this is a prime case that I want to just point out that, here's a perfect case where, we're discluding the lot setbacks. We're taking a 50-foot buffer around the entire lot and throwing that away to leave a lot envelope in the middle of the remainder, and it's creating a situation where they have to push this lot envelope back into the woods and cross wetlands to actually build when they really want to build near the road, is what I'm hearing, or would prefer to, and that would have less impact for the town. This is also pushing up costs to the builder to run that driveway back. There's gonna cost thousands, and it's about $29 a foot to bring power back there. So you're having, what, an 800, 900-foot driveway?
700.
700-foot driveway. There's $30,000 for bringing electricity back to the house before you even plug in your toaster. This is pushing up housing costs in our town, and this is the exact thing we should be changing.
So, Mr. Evans, I'm just going to stop it. It's not a time to advocate for that. It's an inappropriate during a case to go to that level of degree. So the applicant has many options ahead of them. The
Yes.
planning board has built in the conditional use permit to allow for things like this. The applicant also has an option to go to the zoning board to seek relief. I believe another case went to ZBA to potentially seek relief and help to allow a structure to be built outside their 30K area as long as they show the 30K area. So that's a potential option for the applicant. The applicant's here before us tonight with this option and going to CUP. They just happen to mention that they may try to do that in the future, but that's,
Yeah, and
at that
it's,
point, it would still require zoning relief. So they can either do the zoning relief now and avoid the CUP process or go down the road, but.
Is there willingness on your part to seek zoning relief and to get relief on that 30,000 lot envelope issue so that you wouldn't have to seek this conditional use permit? Also because the entire lot is essentially ranked highest, ranked wildlife habitat in the entire state, so it's a little bit concerning to be proposing disturbing 2,000+ square feet of those wetlands in order to put a driveway through in such a sensitive area.
As I said, the applicant proposes to construct on the northern lot now. So I'm not sure that's as big a issue for them at the moment, maybe in the future. So we have to have relief one way or the other. We either have to have a CUP or the zoning, the variance for the 30,000 square foot area. I mean, that may be a discussion, because we do have to do the CUP and we have to go to Concom. We'll be back, I'm assuming. So that could be a discussion with the client.
I had a question. So the 4K area that's being shown on the smaller of the two lots, I think you have it listed as 23A. It's hard to see on sheet C2, but I believe you have it. So my understanding of our setbacks is we grant less restriction on the side and rear setbacks for the 4K area, but not on the front, not the 50 foot. So it's 50 feet from the front, but 20 feet from the other three lines. So I think you're showing that that's closer than 50 feet, but it looks like you could easily shift it back and still be having two test pits within it. And,
Yeah, if that's the case, then I'll slide it back. I'll just have to clarify that.
Okay. But yeah, it looks like, because of the way this configuration already, it
So
potentially would be allowed without a
We
problem.
followed a 20-foot town septic setback, and you're saying that's from the sides and not from the front and as well?
Between the side and rear property lines and accessory buildings and septic system says 20, but I don't believe
Okay.
we carved that out from the front. So when that was made less restrictive a few years ago, it was from the other three lines, but not the front, to my knowledge. I don't see anywhere in there where it mentions the lesser restriction on the front setback. But again, we can try to go through it further, or if, in this case, it looks like there's just room for it anyway to kind of shift it back.
Right.
So a couple other questions. There's, and I think it's just a mislabel on one of our town maps. Historic cemeteries is showing number 9, Stevens number 1. I know there's definitely the cemetery across the street, which I don't know if that's the Stevens Cemetery, or if there is
I
another
couldn't
one.
answer that one.
So between this property and what would be Lot 2, the larger parcel to the north. I'm sure there's some people here tonight that might be able to tell us if there's another cemetery over there. But again, that might just be an error on our town map. I know some of those dots aren't quite in the right place. One other area I had for thought or concern to consider is, obviously, this section of road is extremely narrow, especially because of that cemetery. So widening it to the west is pretty much can't happen. So adding 2 more driveways in that area concerns me a bit. So I was wondering if a shared driveway potentially would be more appropriate, where it would come in off the property line and then end up, going to the north for the smaller parcel, and then probably, joining into where your proposed driveway is anyway. So that's something for you and for the board to discuss.
Could they give up frontage to, to widen the road?
It looks like maybe Mr. Guy, you could probably answer that. I think the proposed property line you're showing is including a right-of-way, correct? Like an extra right-of-way width?
Looks like 50-foot wide right away.
I'm sorry, what do you?
Stevens Hill Road.
I'm sorry, your lot lines that you're showing in the front, it looks like they're,
We're not increasing the
Right.
right-of-way width.
There's a stone wall along the front right of way, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a stone wall on
The
both sides.
property line is on the other
He's
side of
inside
the
that.
stone wall.
Yes, the stone wall doesn't necessarily always follow, or the property line doesn't necessarily always follow the stone wall.
But in this case, it does. It appears to, there's two, no?
No,
Two iron
nobody's showing.
Yeah, it's off a little bit.
I believe somewhere in our ordinance, and I know it's happened on other cases, there's, been an easement granted to the town to allow the widening of roads like such as this one. Because again, we're starting to see increased development. But that section specifically, widening it to the west is probably gonna be impossible because of the cemetery, or not impossible, but I doubt that it would happen anytime soon. So just trying to figure out ways to improve the sight line there and everything, so I'll just go through the other couple items. And these are questions, I already mentioned that one. I don't believe you have any vernal pools identified. I don't think there's any that were noticed on the property. And then, any steep slopes being impacted, it's hard to tell on the proposed driveway to the proposed lot 2-3, if that area that's, looks like it's fairly steep, it would have grading for the driveway. In a few other areas, if those are steep or not, would fall into our steep slopes section.
Yeah, I didn't look at this before until I received Mr. Haney's comments regarding it, but I believe a little portion of the 30,000 for the larger lot is within steep slopes.
Okay.
Not that we can't change it, so it's not.
Yep.
I'll have to look at the road too, because it looks potential, or the potential driveway, because it looks like there may be a little portion of it that may be within steep slopes as well, so.
Yeah, with the grading showing like
Right.
where you actually get towards the proposed building. It looks like that section would have to have, that looks like it's steep, just how close the topography lines are. But again, it may not be, it may just be because of the scale that we're looking at.
Yep, understood.
But if you could just clarify that, and if there are steep slopes being impacted, obviously they just have to get out of the lot envelope. And then for any area that would be potentially impacted, just address how that would be, erosion, things like that would be minimized, please. Okay. And then my other notes are on the CUP, just the process of it, but the CUP process, I think before the board can act on that, one of the criteria is that the Nottingham Conservation Commission has provided comments relative to the value of the wetland under construction. So we won't be able to act on the CUP tonight, but we would be able to continue the application until after you meet with them and then address it then.
Yep.
Mr. Haney, you said you had some additional items on your review?
You actually touched on a couple of your last comments.
Yep.
Steep slopes in the building envelope, and that was specific to the back lot, back-ish lot, and then Conservation Commission. I had left it blank in the staff report about scenic road because I didn't see it on there either, but I failed to mention it in the text, in the narrative piece, but yeah, it does look like it's not a scenic road. I guess the board should clarify that just simply because he is gonna be before the Conservation Commission to make sure that they know what they're commenting on.
Which parts of Stevens Hill Road are scenic then?
It's specific maps, parcel maps, and it ends at 47, whereas this one's 48.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And I think you'd marked that with floodplain in FEMA, but I didn't see that,
Well,
Think.
yeah.
but I know there's
Didn't you
some.
say there was, I'm sorry, Brad, did you say that some part of it was Zone A, or was I,
Yeah, the
it's like a small
very
section.
far back, and you can see it on the, yeah,
Oh, okay,
this tiny sliver is within zone.
got it.
Yeah, I picked it up in the narrative. I didn't even notice that's where it was, but yes, so that's why I checked that.
Yeah, perfect.
It's not, I didn't comment it because it's not impacting anything. So no.
What water body is back there?
The Bean River, I think?
Yeah, I couldn't answer that.
Bean River.
I did not walk back that far.
I think it's the Bean, it goes from
Long
there
Bean River.
into Mulligan.
So that's it from on my end.
Yeah.
Oh, and the board knows it needs to act on the waiver request as well.
Yeah, the only other part I had, obviously, when we go to discuss the CUP, and I'm sure the Concom will have more of a say on this or be able to provide some clarity on it, and your discussion with them will probably be enlightening. But obviously, this wetland, it appears on maps that it's pretty extensive. Like, it's not just the small isolated wetland. It looks like that whole area has pretty extensive wetland. Implications are like the continuity goes across many lots and onto the other side of the road and everything else. So I think their input will help a lot in understanding, what's being proposed and if there's any mitigation factors that might be needed for like runoff and things like that. Especially if that's a low point for anything coming off the driveway that might need like swales and things like that for pretreatment or to try to avoid salt and sand going into that section.
Yeah, because this'll, if it's the Bean River, it impacts the Lamprey water
Yeah.
shaft.
Yeah, the bean is to the back, so that's not being, that's
Okay.
that's probably another 1,000 feet. I don't know. It's pretty far back from
Oh, yeah, it's
where it's,
like 14.
but the wetland complex, that's where it's like Forest Complex, is pretty extensive throughout the Stevens Hill area and especially this section, so.
If that flows into it or somehow.
How close is this to the power lines and the town hiking trail?
For
That is over
Mulligan,
there on on Stevens Hill.
I think that's a couple of lots to the south,
Does that sound right? Yeah,
so
couple lots to the south.
Okay,
probably another 800 feet, 1,000 feet.
all right.
When you look at the aerial, you can see you can see this lot and you can see the parking area.
That was actually a pretty good question, because going through that trail, you see a lot of wetland in there, a lot of wetland.
Yeah. So when I hiked that trail, and on our way back, we thought we'd be clever and walk the power lines. And I was stopped cold by a very large pond. From that spot, I could see where my car was parked. But I had to go back trail all the way back. So there's a lot of wetlands there.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any other questions or comments from the board at this point? If not, I'll open the public hearing to make sure we have a chance to hear from the public.
Is there a waiver for the eastern part of the lot?
Yes, for topography?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought, but I wasn't finding it anywhere.
Oh, I've got a copy.
Yeah, it's in the package.
Okay. And when we get to that, I can read through it. But I'll go ahead and, it is 7:26. I'll open the public hearing. So for the public hearing, anybody that's speaking for or in support of the application, please come up first. Anybody that's speaking against or just that's your own questions or comments, please come up after. Please just state your name and address for the record, and then please address everything towards the board when you speak. So I welcome anybody up, for or
Okay, no,
against, either way.
I couldn't find evidence of
Peter Rowell, 156 Stevens Hill Road, which is basically immediately across the street from this. I just have a couple of things. Overall, I think the subdivision looks pretty good. I'd like to address Evans' comments about pushing the houses out towards the road. Part of what makes a scenic road scenic is the fields and the woods. You put houses out next to the road and it doesn't become scenic anymore, Even though my house is close to the road, the old timers built them close to the road. So that's the only, we're kind of in a pushback between the two there. We did ask Mr. Falzone down the street to move his houses back 100 feet from the road. He did that. They look quite nice. You can't really see them, except at night when the lights are on. Anyways, that's just that. The other thing I want to say is you brought up the cemetery. We should really make sure the road agent gets 50 feet from the cemetery wall to the edge of the property line. It looks close. I think it's like 45 feet there now. I didn't have a scale because I don't have a good map. But it should really be 50 feet because there's a hill there. It's a drainage issue. Every time we get a thunderstorm, it washes out. He's got to come up and fix that. And the road has been depressed over the years, probably 3 feet. It's been pushed down because everything gets drained, comes downhill with the water, and the grader pushes it all downhill. I've spoken to the road agent about building it up. That may happen, may not happen. But he should really get 50 feet there so we can put a ditch line between the cemetery and the roadway and another ditch line over close to these property lines here. I think that's important so he can maintain the road. As far as the drainage there, it'd be nice if he got some type of drainage easement onto the property, so that down the road, when he needs it, he has it there, you know. Put it in the property line just before, you know, somewhere there, so to get the water off the road into the woods. It goes there anyways, but it's nice to have an official spot for it to go. And, I'm sure he could talk to that more if you want, if he comes in here. Again, those are the biggest thing, like the drainage, all that water runs down from the hill, all the way down, and ends up in my front yard, you know.
Are you south from there, on the left, or?
Yeah, I'm the only other house right there, yeah, between this and the power
And there's
line.
like a barn right across the street, is
Yeah,
that?
that's my barn.
That's
Yeah,
your barn?
Yeah, that's my barn across the street there. And as I said, the water has always come down the road and ends up in my front yard. So it'd be nice to, while we're here, this is what we can plan to get some of it out of the road. I'm still gonna get some, no matter what. But, you know, it'd be nice to get some of it out there, out into the wetland eventually. Other than that, I think we're all set. Again, the drainage and the 50 feet from the cemetery. You're never gonna move that cemetery wall. I've already spoke to the selectmen about, not selectmen, but the town administrator, about cutting that back anymore from, and he understands that, the road agent understands that. You can't cut it back, because those walls will eventually fall in, you know, the nice cemetery walls. And they won't get put back. When they fall in, no one's gonna put them back again, you know, unless somebody volunteers to. But anyway, so, and he's aware of that, and he has stopped cutting it back, you know, towards it. It's probably, I would say that road's probably the best 3-4 feet in that area right there, which is a long ways. It's probably taken 200 years for that to happen, but.
Now, that usually can be addressed with swales. Right, so I had a similar situation with my driveway, I know that's a bigger thing.
Right.
But it's sunk, and it turned into a bowl, and the water would always just come flying down that driveway.
Yeah.
Somebody addressed it by putting in some swales for us.
That's why we want the 50 feet, to make sure he has room enough to put swales in there.
Makes
You know,
sense.
You know, he'd probably need the whole 50 feet. It'd be best to build the road up 2 feet, and then if you build it up 2 feet, you get swales, you know, either side of it, no matter what.
How much room from, between, roughly, from the driveway to the stone walls on this property, would you say? I was there, but wasn't paying attention to that.
From the driveway,
From the road to the stone wall on this property across the street.
well, it's typically a 33-foot right-of-way there, I'm thinking, so I suspect it's probably from the cemetery wall to the stone wall that's there is probably close to 30 feet. I don't know, maybe the surveyor could chime in. You know, that's
We can
typically
ask him
what
when he comes
those,
back
It's something like that, yeah.
yeah, that's typically what those roads are, they're called 3-rod roads, it's 33 feet. That's what it is in front of my house, it's been there, you know, between the walls and up in front of my house. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
So wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Rowell, since you are on the road, is that the Stevens Cemetery that's on, that abuts your property? Is that?
yeah,
So that's, okay, so to your knowledge, I'm just trying to clarify one of the town maps.
my-
I don't believe there's any actual cemetery on these two lots.
no, there is no cemetery in these 2 lots.
Okay.
There's
All right, thank
there's a
you.
cemetery across the street that shows on the.
So I think
on
the dot on the town map
on
is
the plan,
on the
yeah.
wrong side
Shows.
of the road, yeah.
There is a cemetery on that side of the road that the 2 lots are being developed on.
There is one?
It's
There's-
back,
It's back,
From the road.
it's back and it's on, it's not even on our property, it's on another piece of property
Okay.
south of
There's-
ours.
Okay, perfect.
Right, there's actually 3 cemeteries within 100 yards of each other right there, one in the middle of the field.
Yeah, that's the things, there's hundreds of them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I just, again, I just want to make sure that if it's there, we identify it and get it on the plans, because
It was-
being on here, I've seen, you know, some others where I would have never known that it was a cemetery, you know, just fieldstone, so. That one, yes.
Yes.
That's there.
Yeah, I understand that. I thought that, I didn't know if with the town maps, that it looked like they showed one being on this side of the road as well, so. But, all right, thank you, Mr. Rowell.
Can
Oh,
I
sorry.
ask a question? Peter, I kind of always thought Stevens Hill Road was scenic all the way, and I'm finding out tonight it's not. So,
What? I've always assumed that Stevens Hill Road was scenic the whole way through. We got our marker at one end of it and a marker at the other end of it. I don't know, apparently,
It's,
No, it's in the subdivision regs that it indicates which portions of it are and where are not in that portion that's on the scenic
and,
road.
and is it just past yours that it becomes?
I would have to look at the tax maps, because the tax map, if you look on page 100 of the subdivision regulations,
I don't have
it
my,
tells you which tax maps for each of the scenic roads are part of the scenic roads.
I've always assumed it's been all the way through.
Yeah, I did too.
But you
You
could,
learn stuff, every now and again, you learn new stuff.
Well, there was, in somewhere, and I think it was the scenic roads, that the numbers were wrong in our regs. They were 911 map numbers, not our tax map numbers. So I'd have to go back and look and see if this is one of them, but we can definitely go back and find the original warrant article if we need to try to find the definition of it and make sure that it's accurate. But again, right now, we notice it is potentially having, being a scenic road. I understand that means there's Conservation Commission review if there's any tree and stone wall removal, but we'll definitely need to confirm that, and ideally, we'll try to get it confirmed before you meet with the Concom, so if it does have to be addressed with them, you can have it all done in one night. The applicant.
It does show a lot of lots, so.
it ends at some lot, I'll figure it out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that was one of the things I flagged on for our housekeeping for quite a while is our map numbers and some of these appendices are E911 map or map numbers, not our tax map numbers. Anybody else for the public have any comment for, against, or just general comment? If not, I will close the public hearing. It is 7:37. Mr. Garrett, you can come on up, please, again. So I think the only question in there that you haven't touched upon so far, if you can confirm, I know in one spot you do show a 44-foot right-of-way width at the very southern end, but
Yeah, I think it's less than that,
the actual road surface that's there now is
like 15 feet, yep.
yeah, it's short, it's narrow, and then, but to where your property line is, which again, looks like it's to the eastern side of, away from the road of the stone wall that's there now, that's all right away currently. So basically, I think you're showing a, 15-foot edge of pavement width, or would be edge of road width.
Yep.
But I believe you're showing a right-of-way section of 30-plus feet, 40 feet. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I showed it at the bottom, which is a little wider at 44 feet, but I think if you look closer to across from the cemetery, it's probably closer to 33.
I'm pretty sure when started property was all subdivided anyway, there was provided 25 feet from the center of the, what might be the right-of-way. So that's probably why there are varying numbers along there, depending upon, like, he can't provide, the owner of the property can't necessarily provide all 50 feet.
Right.
Right.
Because that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right.
So it's been 25 feet from the center of a right-of-way, which
Correct.
probably is the one that exists now. So I think that's why, 44 feet probably exists, and probably 30 and other stuff exists.
Makes
along.
sense.
Is there any further discussion from the board? We do have a waiver. We can act upon it tonight or wait until we continue the case.
I'd like to add just another note about the scenic road issue. I do believe it is on a scenic road. I think that our appendix 2 on page 101 of our subdivision regs is showing the 911 map numbers and not the Nottingham tax map numbers. If you look at those 7 numbers listed there, they match up exactly with the 911 map numbers. So I think you should consider this on a scenic road because I think it's a clerical error there.
Yeah, that was my memory as well, is that was one of our housekeeping items to get addressed. This
So
was-
if it is on a scenic road,
Yeah.
and I didn't read really in depth into it because
Yep.
I didn't think we were, but I believe the only thing that's required is that the location of the driveways is approved by the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, so Conservation Commission reviews and has an option to speak towards any stone walls that are being removed and any scenic trees and things like that. So if you have, along this frontage, if you had any, large scenic trees, things like that, that were being planned to be removed, they would probably have comment on that. And we did already notice it on our agenda, it did show it as a scenic road, so we covered our bases there. So I think, I do think, it sounds like there's just a small potential shift on the lot envelope for proposed lot 2-3 is to occur, if there's steep slopes included in it now. I don't think there's any harm in holding off on the waiver tonight. There's probably no harm in addressing it, but where there might be a shift there, I think that just allows the applicant to be a little more free with how they have to decide to move that. So I suggest that we just hold off on the waiver until when we can hear this on continuance.
Are you available for the January 22nd meeting if we continue until then? That would give you time to meet
Pull
with
out
the
my handy
Concom.
dandy calendar.
Yeah, that gives
I only asked
a week
because
for the
I don't know
Concom to
what-
give us comment to. Get
Don't know
their
what our
letters.
February date is yet.
Well, it's February 17th?
I'm
Deadline. It's
Oh.
February 12th.
Oh, 12 and 26.
I'm currently available for the 22nd.
Book 'em.
Book 'em, Benno.
Is there any further discussion or any, before motion to continue?
Is that going to really give you enough time with everything?
That is a lot.
Yeah, I don't think we'd have an issue making the changes. I mean, it's just to the 4K area and then the building envelope area. Those are the only really things I saw, the steep slope issue, but going back to the right-of-way issue is, I didn't hear the board asking us to make it, and I don't know that it's allowed to extend increase the width of the right-of-way. I know there was talk about it, but,
Stevens Hill, you mean?
right.
Yeah, so right now you're showing, so
We're
if
sh-
the-
we-
if the center
we
line
have-
of the current road is
Right.
15 feet.
It's an existing road, we're asking for a road frontage subdivision.
Yep. But obviously, as a board, part of our purview is, we have to look at the impact of this subdivision as well as, is what's occurring on that road in general.
Right, and
And this is an area that's,
we're adding one lot. I
No,
mean,
it
there's
isn't.
already one lot, we're adding in the second lot.
yeah, so, but what I was trying to get at is, right now where Stevens Hill Road is and the lines that are being shown, it sounded like what Mr. Severns had touched on was that you are showing potentially that we have the,
No, we're not changing the envelope, the existing property lines along the frontage.
He's using the property lines from the previous subdivision,
right.
That,
incorporate those types of things.
Correct, that's what I was trying to get at. So if right now, like at the narrowest, you're showing a 15-foot edge of pavement width, so go to the middle of that, so 7.5 feet, and then whatever is beyond that to the property line is probably 25 feet, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm trying to, I
It
mean.
used to be
really-
25 feet from the center of the existing roadway, or if there were two sets of stone walls, you'd get the middle of the stone walls and then cut it back.
There are stone walls on both sides. I think it would be a shame to tear down, especially on a scenic road, this
There's no talk
The,
about
stone
tearing down
walls,
stone.
right?
Nobody's talking about tearing it down, but we're just talking about for future planning for the town.
Right.
You have an area that's
It should be.
is a problem, and a potential future problem, as the town, as the road becomes even if it doesn't become any more developed, you have an area that is just a bottleneck now. It's 15 feet wide. And this section definitely has erosion problems and things like that. So what we're getting at tonight is trying to figure out if there's enough room, for the town in the future, if they ever had to widen that area, add some drainage. They would usually rebuild the stone wall. They just move it over to beyond wherever they
Especially if
cut.
it's a scenic road.
Right. Right. I mean, I do think that it needs to be considered to have a 50-foot right-of-way, especially between the cemetery, because you can't go into that cemetery.
So it'd be, yeah, but the 50 feet, so it'd be 25 feet from the center line for their side of the road.
Yeah, well, plus whatever on the cemetery section.
And I don't know what happened, because I know on the other side of the road, when there was a subdivision before us, we had that where we did have them, have required to have an easement offered to the town, showing the right-of-way to allow for a widening, but the cemetery was the hang-up on that, obviously, if you widen. The west side, you get cemetery wall, so, again, just understand it's a two-lot subdivision being proposed, but these are the times where we can try to start addressing some of the concerns for the people that would live here as well, and the town. So if there's a way to do that and kind of meet on that somehow, I think that would benefit everybody. So I think that's something to consider.
And according to this drawing, if I read it correctly, there's a robust tree line right there, running along that stone wall as well.
I don't know how robust it is, I can't recall, I don't
Right.
think typically, I mean, we show a tree line there, that typically doesn't mean it's narrow, so there may be a few trees along that area.
Well, it shows double lines, two
Yeah.
sets of tree
Right,
line.
yeah,
To me, that's robust. You see the one next to it, it's only one set.
well, no, that's because you're looking at it the wrong way. So the double line shows that that's a narrow range
Okay.
of trees.
All right,
And yeah, because it's one single, it's, it's more.
sure.
Yeah, and again, but nobody's actually proposing, like, even if this is, the line is moved and an easement's granted to the town for that section, it doesn't mean the town's gonna go in and do anything. It just gives the town in the future as they try to address some of the issues on this section of the dirt road, they could do so in a better manner and potentially make it safer. So that's that part. And then again, my initial comment about, I guess it's up to the board to decide to either move forward with it or for the applicant to consider it, is the idea of a shared driveway. So because right now you're showing a curb cut directly across from that cemetery and then a second curb cut on the hill. I don't know what that sight line is like. It's been a bit since I've walked that section. But that's just another thing to potentially consider.
Certainly looks like the wetland impacts could be reduced significantly by utilizing a shared driveway in some design, if possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the location of the wetland impact is at the narrowest point, so that is where that driveway is gonna have to be. The northern lot doesn't have any wetland impacts, so it wouldn't really affect the wetland impact at all.
Right, 'cause yeah, if you put the shared driveway all the way up the property line, you'd hit 2 spots of wetland. You'd have 3 different impact points. So.
I assume a shared driveway couldn't go through that smaller lot to access the larger parcel from that. If the wetlands is going to be crossed, is it possible that a shared driveway could go through that wetlands in the back of 2-3A to reach the building area in lot 2-3, as opposed to going through all of the wetlands in the front part of lot 2-3?
Oh, so
Does that make sense?
You'd have to go up the northern boundary.
Yeah,
So you
that's
wouldn't-
what
That
I'm
would-
asking about.
I think that would require zoning relief because the driveway wouldn't actually be on, it'd almost be more of a backlot subdivision. You wouldn't have, the driveway would be going up on this parcel only, on the smaller parcel. If you're talking about going up the northern side, you wouldn't have a wetland impact, but potentially, but you definitely have an area of steep slopes and everything else too, so. Okay. Anything else from the board?
I think you already explained this, but I don't know that we have a waiver or anything associated with it, but the 2-3 lot only has 195 feet?
No, it has 200 feet.
Oh, I thought it did. How come it doesn't say that?
Yeah, the
second
long
line is really
section
short.
is 198.79,
Yeah,
and then we have a small section, if you look at the detail on A2, actually, it's on 112, and it shows like 1.1 feet,
oh, there it is, okay. Yeah, I knew it was something.
1.25 feet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Which is unfortunate because there's already a pin there and we actually have to set it off a foot and a half. It is what it is.
So we don't really know if it's a scenic road or not.
No, I'm
But-
95% confident it
Yes,
is.
okay. So we're gonna go with that.
We'll confirm again before the applicant meets with the Concom, just in case there are any other things, so they can get it all addressed at the same time.
It seems to me that it would be nice, if the driveway for the proposed lot, 22-3A driveway went around the stone wall, went to the other side of the stone wall. It would require an easement onto that lot for, again, perhaps a shared driveway, if that's what you look for. But it would save the stone wall.
So, just to clarify, and
Yep.
I didn't look this up, but I think the shared driveway requirement in Nottingham is that it goes up the property line, centered on the property line.
Yep.
And we would not be able to center it on the driveway on the property line without, and avoid the stone wall entirely.
Correct. Well, I'm looking for perhaps an easement. Since,
No, I get your point, but I think we'd have to have relief, and I can't remember if it's in subdivision or zoning.
Zoning.
It's in zoning. So we would have to have a variance in order to do that.
Is the driveway on the lower lot the one in question, Skip? Or
no,
the one
no,
on
the upper one.
upper
The
one?
upper one's gonna have to take out some of the stone wall in order to build it. Since it was on a scenic road.
And usually when that's done, it's retained on site, like the stones are added to the wall or kind of used as a edging for the driveway.
In some towns, there is a requirement, a special permission to open a stone wall is, I
Oh, yeah.
haven't come across that here in Nottingham yet.
No, we can do it.
We can do
It's
it.
just an opportunity to perhaps close it up. That's all. But that's up to you.
Yeah, understood.
Is there any further discussion for the case tonight? If not, a motion to continue to January 22nd. We usually ask for deliverables 1 week ahead of that, which would be 2 days after your Concom meeting.
Does that give Concom enough time?
It gives Concom enough time to
Get back to
provide us
us?
input. Usually they send a response, that's a couple of days, within a couple of days.
Okay,
So I would hope so.
okay.
But I always try to lean on adding the applicant as soon as it works for the applicant, and then if there's something's missing, we can always continue again, but get them on the earliest agenda.
I'll make a motion to continue case number 25-001 sub Stoddard to January 22nd, 2024
Second,
at 7 o'clock.
2025?
7:25.
2025.
You were last year.
Oh, 2025, I'm sorry.
So there's a motion by Mr. Severance and a second by, we've got Mr. Evans, to continue to January 22nd, 2025 at 7 PM and the standard, deliverables by 7 days prior. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you, Mr. Guyer.
Thank you all.
Second item on the agenda for tonight is case number, it's again, first initial public hearing. It's for case 24-002 LLA Weaver, 230 Mill Pond Road. Application from Gregory Lemoyne on behalf of William and Sandra Weaver, requesting a lot line adjustment. Property located at 230 Mill Pond Road, Nottingham, New Hampshire, identified as tax map number 24, lot 80.
Correction, Mr. Chair, shouldn't this be
should.
25002A?
Yes. Thank you, Mrs.
Not
Baskin. Case 25002 LLA. I think we're all doing that.
Alana, on the notice for this second case? On the notice for this second case, I don't know, is it on the agenda as well that way? It says 24-002 instead of 25. Yeah, it is on the agenda as well. Can that, just have it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Just because we don't want to confuse it with last year's.
All right. And if you just identify yourself.
Sure,
and,
yeah,
give us a quick overview of what's going on.
Sure, yeah.
Please.
Thanks for your time. I'm Greg Lemoyne, 3 Robin Hood Drive. And then Bill and Sandy, who are also on the application, they might be watching, but they're in Florida. So,
Well, if they're watching, speak into that microphone.
hi, Bill.
About 12 degrees outside, so
Yeah.
you should be happy where they are.
Hopefully this is a little bit clearer than the previous application. It's, the intent is a lot line adjustment. From the tax map, I represent lot 84. Bill and Sandy Weaver Revocable Trust are lot 80. And so kind of extending our lot line on lot 84 towards Nottingham Lane. Just moving that over, and I think that's kind of the intent of the lot line adjustment. The area, if anyone's been there, it's just woods. Like, it's, Bill kind of manicures the woods. And the reason my wife and I are just interested in it is to keep it as such, because we have like young kids, and like that part of Robin Hood Drive's a kind of a gravel private way. We just, you know, kids play in our current lot there, but also, you know, meander through there. And when I talked to Bill this summer, you know, if he would be interested in giving us part of this lot. Initially, we thought we were gonna get, on the tax map, which is incorrect, lot 83-A is kind of like an L shape around our lot 80. And so it was like, it looked like it was a separate lot. And that's what we thought it was from the beginning. So we thought this would be like a slam dunk, which, famous last words. So we were like, okay, I'd love to take, you know, 83A, because, you know, it's a lot of work to maintain. Granted, like he like is kind of manicuring the woods. So when we initially talked, we were talking about that whole lot of land. And then when we had the land surveyed, we had to kind of scale back to meet the requirements for the conforming lot for Bill's land, because it's needs to be over 3 acres and on an aquifer and all that. And then ours is obviously small already, but becoming a little bit larger, going to 0.8 acres. And so I was in the process, you know, I've talked with Blair before, which was helpful, and just kind of getting the, you know, and then also finding Pete, who's been very helpful, Pete Landry, to get it surveyed, you know, have a better understanding of where, you know, what was kind of going on in that lot to begin with, because it was a little bit confusing on what the history of 83-A was. I think the original subdivision way back in the day was had like 6 separate lots, and then there was like a involuntary merger of lots for Bill and Sandy's, and then it was noted on the tax map, or tax card rather, but then in the original deed it was referencing all the old lot numbers, so it was a little confusing, but I'm sure you guys see that all the time. So anyways, that's, I guess, the intent of the project. It's just a lot line adjustment and moving that over.
All right, thank you. Mr. Heaney, you've had a chance to review the application, I believe, and I know you've submitted comment. for the board. Anything that would preclude us from accepting this as complete?
No, the application is complete, and no waivers are requested.
Thank you. So the board, any discussion regarding the application completeness? If not, a motion on that would be in order.
I will move to accept case 25-002 LLA Weaver as complete.
Second.
It's a motion by Mr. Stevens and a second by Mrs. Bascom to accept case 25002 LLA as complete. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 7-0. And again, just for continuity, acting on whether or not this is a development of regional impact is always good.
I will make a motion that that 25-002 LLA is not a development of regional impact.
Second.
So a motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mrs. Cummings, that Mrs. Bascom, I am off tonight, I'm sorry, everybody, that this is not a development of regional impact. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, that motion carries 7-0.
You
I
got
had
it
like
this
4
time,
cups
right?
of coffee. So just, I apologize, everybody.
It's okay.
All right, so now we can speak about it a little bit further now that we've taken kind of control of the application. Mr. Lemoyne, did you have any other thing you wanted to add besides?
No, I mean, anything, I can try to answer questions or listen, what do you have to say?
Yeah, and I think you touched upon a few things, because I was trying to go back to and look at like the tax map, and I saw like the original deed where there was these sublots, and we've had this come up, and you mentioned it yourself, potentially involuntary merger and things like that. There are processes for that, but there's additional steps that have to be taken to figure out if, well, were they involuntary merged? Have they since been merged by use or conduct? Things like that. It sounds like you're skipping that process and just going to straight lot line adjustment.
Correct, yeah, when I spoke with a couple different attorneys, initially when we did this, it was a title search, and the title company was like, we can't find any information on this. So that's how it started, and then I talked to a couple of attorneys, and they're like, you can go the route of a involuntary merger of lots. It's gonna be trickier, because I believe the original survey and subdivision application was from 1962, and then there was, I don't know what's changed from that. And then they were like, the lot line adjustment is just a lot easier. Like, that's literally what you're trying to do. And then when Pete Landry let me know of the 3 acre, that minimum for Bill's current lot, which his house is on, it kind of just changed the scope of the size of the lot anyways. And so the lot line adjustment seemed to make the most logical sense as their path forward.
So the plan is, so the larger lot, lot 80, not changing the conformity of that lot, the lot that you own would be, because it's already pre-existing non-conforming, would become slightly more conforming?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's referenced on, I know it's sometimes hard to see on this small, I have the larger plan here, I think it was in the application as well, but the existing area of my lot, which is 84, is 0.343 acres, and the new adjusted area would just be slightly larger to 0.806.
Yeah, so it still doesn't make it, a
Sure.
conforming lot, but it makes it more conforming. I think you get frontage and a few other things, so.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
You own 86 also, right?
Yes.
Is that vacant, or what's there?
My house.
Oh, the house is there, and then the garage is on 84.
Correct.
Okay, I was over there, I was trying to figure out what
No,
was
no.
there.
Yep.
And on 83A, there's nothing there at this time.
Nothing. It's just like manicured woods. Like Bill is out there with like a brush cutter, and he cuts down some of the smaller like saplings, and then there's just like it's
Like a park.
It's like a park. I thought
Park.
like yeah,
Yeah.
And it's been that way since we've been here 10 years. It's been that way for those 10 years, and like trees fall and he cuts them up, and I'll continue to do that. But like I'm not gonna probably go and mow the whole thing all the time. But it just will, for now, it's like again, it's almost like a park, like you said.
I think the only thing potentially, I don't know that the references on the plan because, you know, it mentions owners of record, like including lot 83A, but there's nowhere else on here that's showing as 83A. So I know the tax maps don't show the lots, you know, 83A, you know,
Right,
they're on the
tax
property
card,
card.
yeah, the property
Mentions
card,
that
correct.
80 includes, I think, 83A, BC, something like that. I can't remember all
It
that.
includes 6 lots, yeah.
Correct.
So I don't know if it's good to have that on the plan, because there's no other, you know, if you went to like look at this plan later on, it's like, well,
Sure.
we're talking about 84 and 80, but where's 83A? How's that come involved? So I don't know if it
Well,
affects it or if it doesn't affect it.
From a legal standpoint, you know, if they're separate lots, parcels on a deed, and an existing plan that predates their zoning, then those could still be existing separate lots. So there should be some discussion about whether not yourself, but your other property owner is merging his lots and, or not, what the intention is there. It would seem that if they're saying, hey, we're gonna chop this to a 3-acre lot, then they're probably consolidating that.
Yeah, and that's the only sticky point for me, because like, obviously the adjusted lot line for yours, especially where it goes at an angle, I'm doubting that matches any of those prior plans. So it's not like they were just moving over from a prior plan, what was 83A. It was
Right.
probably 83A and part of, I'm just gonna say B, because it's, you know. So I don't know if, Mr. Haney, I don't know if that matters, you know, on this at all to reference that the owners of lot 80, you know, include lot 83A, that they also own that when there is no 83A being shown on the plans. The cleaner just to have that removed. Because obviously this doesn't even get, I think this gets recorded, but it's not even official unless you pass a deed between each other. Lot line adjustments are procedural, but they're not official until the deed passes and changes hands and actually makes that lot, you know,
Right.
what it is, so.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I guess, you
It's,
know,
it's a nuance of land use law that I'm
I'd
just
probably just suggest that
Lot
get
line to be,
removed, because it's not, I don't think it's anywhere else referenced on the plan set. Again, it's just a very minor,
So have
usually what I do.
Pete Landry make that change, is that what you're suggesting?
yeah,
On the actual Mylar?
You outline the lot,
correct, yeah.
and then you go back.
Yeah, and it's just under the owners of record.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm.
He does have it as per town record, so I see why he's,
Lot line.
so, or you can just change it as a note, because I think this is plan references, he references the other items, but
So am I understanding this properly, that
It's getting,
lot 80, whatever it consisted of, went around this lot,
Correct,
down Nottingham Lane and then down Robin Hood Drive?
correct.
And the lot line is being moved to incorporate that corner, if you will.
Correct, yeah. So I'm like that abutting lot, like where that outbuilding is
Yeah.
my garage.
Right.
And it's just moving that lot line from where it says lot line to be abandoned and moving that towards Nottingham Lane.
You can see where it says adjusted lot line.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was
Okay.
seeing it right.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it took me a while
There's
too.
a lot of stuff on here.
Yeah.
yeah, there is a lot
yeah, I
of
mean,
stuff on
obviously
here.
one of the things it does to make the smaller lot more conforming is right now, lot 80, sorry, 84, has no frontage on a public road. So the other, what is occurring here is if you do this lot line adjustment, it's now gonna have frontage on Nottingham Lane and 200 feet of frontage. So now it's becoming more conforming in that way as well. Not only is it becoming larger, it's still not 2 acres or 3 acres for the Aqua District.
Right.
But you're gonna have the 200 feet on a public road.
So does that make that a building lot then?
Technically, no, I mean, it'd still be,
Still
it's still non-conforming, so it'd still most likely require relief, you know, depending on what was being considered. If that was, you know, something down the line something was to be considered.
One other note I just want to make is if you could have your surveyor go through the abutting property tax map information and just verify that everything there is correct and that the spellings are correct. I noticed that the lot 88, just there's a misspelling in the name Kathleen. It says Kathleen. So
Okay.
maybe just ask him to go over those again and make sure that everything is
Sure.
correct. since it'll be on a Mylar eventually.
Yeah, I don't think that would kick it out, but it doesn't hurt to make sure that
All right.
Better to be more
it's
accurate.
accurate, yeah.
So are we asking to see the old lot lines where they were, the different parcels? If there's 6 parcels on the Weaver property,
I don't think we need to.
No, I
Doing this
think
lot line.
because the way the applicant is treating this, is they're treating lot 80 as one lot. They are not trying to say that there's actually 6 lots here. They're saying so this is another thing that would kind of, in the future, if they were to try to say there is an additional lot here that was merged involuntarily, I think this would probably, be an argument against that too, that it's showing that they treat it as one lot.
So you're suggesting that as part of this, remove the lot line between 83A and 80?
No. I was just, the only thing I was talking about was on the right, the notes about the owner of record. It mentions that tax map 8024, lot 80, including lot 83A, but there's no other, on the plan, there's no 83A mentioned, but Mr. Landry that put this together does reference I think the reason for that prior plan, there was a, that area was shown that way.
And on the tax card, it references
Yeah.
the new lot numbers, which are different from the 1962 lot numbers. They changed them.
Yep.
It's not referenced on the tax map, it's referenced on the tax card, which,
So I think that's, I don't think that's now that I think about that more and see that the way Mr. Landry referenced it there, but also the record and stuff, I think it's fine.
So this is going to be an even more conforming lot when they're done here. So this should be fairly straightforward.
I think so.
What are you thinking?
Well, because we've run into this a couple of times, and when the lot line moved, suddenly it became non-conforming, and
Well, that's because it was
an
creating a
issue.
new lot. That was a
Right.
single lot that was trying to chop
Yep.
off a piece. This
We're
is-
just moving a line
Yeah,
here.
this is
Correct,
two
yes.
It's pretty
existing,
simple.
the lot of records.
what I thought was a simple process has been,
Nothing's easy.
nothing's
I
easy.
know.
But yeah, some of those,
You're right.
like
I
the
remember.
lake
A lot of record,
camps,
that's the
and
key, right?
those
and that was a
lots.
vacant lot too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That had a different impact than having a house on it and then doing it after, because then we start talking about this building.
Correct.
So I think we're at a point that, would be appropriate for the board to either request additional information, and then obviously a continuance, or have final action on this plan, either for or against, with conditions.
Do we have any real issues? I mean, I
I
know,
don't think so.
I don't think so.
I mean, it could be a condition that I can review.
This-
It could be a condition that I can review if you want.
Condition that you review what, I'm sorry?
It can be a condition, if there's something that you.
Oh, right.
you
This
know,
is
Yeah,
the
The
adjustment.
board feels like it's,
we have,
More spots.
I didn't write down any conditions, so.
Yeah.
And we don't have any standard conditions.
No, I
we
think
typically
that-
do with LLAs, right?
I think the only thing was, Mr. Stevens had mentioned
He has to cross his property.
just review and correct any names or spellings before the final plans are received in Mylars.
Is that a condition, or?
Sure.
Sure, yeah, let's make that a condition.
So if lot 80 has 6 parcels comprised in it,
No longer, they've been involuntarily
It
merged.
doesn't.
Well, they've been either voluntarily or involuntarily merged. That's not being argued here. It's just being
In
shown as.
1999, they no longer appeared on the tax map of town, in this town.
well, right, but there's different ways that occurs. And one
Sure.
is the assessor arbitrarily just puts his people's lots together.
That's what
and,
happened.
without their really asking for that to be done. And then they, in 2011, they passed a law that said you could pull those back
Sure.
apart. So, we're taking potentially 1 or 2 of those lots, which is 83A, and I don't know what the end result would be for the other lots. Are those lots of record and parcels that can be unmerged later? If 83A was cut into half, does that still have rights as a lot of, unmerged lot of record?
So I would say that the way that the applicant, not just Mr. Lemoyne, but the Weavers are treating this with this plan is that they're treating lot 80 as merged. So they're not making that argument and they're not advocating for it. So if they were to come before the board in the future and try to say that there's other lots here that were involuntarily merged, I think the town would have an argument to say that they're merged by conduct, and this plan would be potentially a piece of that, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. So the applicant had that information, they sought legal advice, they are treating it as merged, it's just two parcels. Mr. Lemoyne's parcel and Mr. Weaver's parcel, or Mr. and Mrs. Weaver's parcel.
Otherwise, it would make some other lot more non-conforming, most likely, you're right. most likely.
Potentially, but again, that's only if there was an argument there that they were involuntarily merged and then
Right.
go through that process to potentially merge them. But the applicant's not seeking to do that. And again, the tax map shows this is just two lots, lot 80 and lot 84.
Yeah, but that's the nature of an involuntary merger, is it just
But
shows
again, the
one big
applicant's
lot.
aware of it, and they've already sought legal advice, and this is their decision, is to move forward as one lot, as a merged lot. So that's the applicant's, that's up to the applicant to
I think
decide. We're not taking away the right of the applicant. The applicant is moving forward with this as one lot. So we're not,
I
anything.
think the RSA says there needs to be something recorded that the owner has applied to merge or unmerge.
Not at all. So the town can,
RSA 674-39AA.
so even when an applicant comes before the town, when they are requesting that relief, saying that their lots were involuntarily merged, that could still be denied if they're merged by conduct, is one of the reasons. So I would say this is them indicating that they've treated this as one lot themselves, and this plan, they're not showing any other lots. That's, would definitely be indicating to me that that's merged by conduct.
674 what?
39A and AA.
$39A, voluntary mergers. AA is what you're saying? That's restoration of involuntary merged lots.
One is the unmerger and one is the merger. And the merger requires, there's two different processes. One is done by the selectmen for the,
Either of those processes have to do with what's going on here, though?
well, yes, I don't think we can contend automatically that there is a merger or not a merger.
I don't think we need to.
We
The
don't-
town
we don't care.
treats this as
There's a
two
hunk of
lots,
land that's being
84 and
deposited
80.
to him, that's all.
The applicant is treating it as two lots. I think that's, to go back 60, 70 years and try to figure out what was done, that's not germane to tonight's proceedings. I think, again, town treats it as two lots, the two in question. Applicant's treating it as two lots, the two in question. I don't think we need, if the applicant was bringing up that they felt that there are additional lots there and they're trying to show them on the plan, that's when we would get into those discussions, but I don't think it's relevant to this.
I will make a motion that we accept case, or that we approve case 25-002 LLA Weaver with the condition that the board review final edits made to the plan.
I'll second that.
Oh, go ahead. You got it.
A motion by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Cummings. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries 7-0-0. And so to Mr. Evans' point, though, I always do feel it is important for us as a board, or as much as possible, if we think that that's occurred and someone's come before us, to make sure the applicant's aware, to give you options, which we did. I know the planner had a chance to meet with you, and you sought that relief and had a chance to make an educated option, so appreciate it. So you're all set. Again, before it's obviously finalized, just need the clean plan sets, the Mylar to be signed, and then, again, what actually makes it final is your deed passing.
Monuments?
Monuments, yeah,
Yeah, you have the monuments.
that's
Pete's
standard.
gonna set those.
Yes.
Yeah,
Once,
and he shows them on the plan, so,
I'm gonna talk with Pete tomorrow and I think he'll be all set.
I think it's just one new monument likely.
Yeah, I guess it would be just one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for your
Thank you very
time.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say this.
All right, well, I thought we were gonna have more people here for this, but we don't. Cold is keeping people away, maybe.
I know, that's what I was thinking too.
So that's it for the two public hearing cases. We do have a public hearing for 5 potential warrant articles. Tonight is the first, or the initial public hearing for all of these, in accordance with the rules for SB2 towns.
Across 2 lots. It's not just
gonna be-
calling
so-
it 1 or 2, unless you file a written statement as to your
Camera
intention.
like that. Hey, guys, just I just want to make sure we get out of here.
Come on, hit the gavel.
I thought about it. No, I appreciate the discussion, but again, initial public hearing for the proposed warrant articles. So we have 5 proposed warrant articles. 1 to amend the definition of lot envelopes, that's more of a cleanup item. Amend Article 2, Section C2E, amend Article 2, Section E2B, 1, 2, and 3. Amend Article 2, Section C3A, and a potential new overlay district. Amend Article 3 for overlay districts to adopt a new district titled Steep Slope Protection District and add new definitions. So this is the first public hearing for these. I will open the public hearing. It is 8:20 PM. As always, with anything for the board, not only can you submit testimony in person for things, but you can also submit via email or written documentation to the town for inclusion in the public hearings.
And there's nobody here,
Nobody here. I'll leave it open
and I
for.
don't have anything on my phone either.
And Alana, you haven't received any comment or anything? I know,
Check Facebook or anything.
I didn't see anything on, although Facebook is not an official method of communication to the planning board, I did not see anything specifically on one of the Nottingham pages. I'm not on many of them, and I do not check Facebook
I'm
frequently.
not on it.
So, I will close the public hearing. It's 8:22. There's nobody from the public present. So the board has, and Mr. Haney, correct me if I'm wrong on this, a couple of options. We can pin this to a second public hearing, which I would suggest being the 22nd, because I think after that, we're out of time. Or technically, unless there's any changes that are substantive that are being suggested to these are made, then they would move on to the warrant article.
What if a planning board member had a change or an idea about some cleanup?
I think we can discuss it, and then it'd be up to the board whether or not there's going to be any changes. Is that correct? Like,
Yeah,
edits don't have to come from.
The board can discuss whatever it wants, any member can bring up whatever it wants, but the board has to vote to
Correct.
make a change from what it voted on to present tonight.
And if it's a substantive change, you
Yes,
definitely have to.
if it's a substantive change, then you have to have the next meeting. If it's no change or a tweak, maybe a spelling or something like that, misspelling, then it can still advance, but it has to be voted by the board tonight.
So we've already voted on all of these,
Yep, the last meeting.
and these are ready to go now as warrant articles to the meeting. So what is it that we need to do next?
We can either hold another public hearing at the next meeting to give the public another chance to either send in comments or come and tell us in person,
Yeah.
or we can vote to advance them to warrant article, right?
You've met your obligations.
But isn't it always a good idea to have a second day of, because you can see how popular it is.
It's a bit disappointing that nobody's here to
Yeah.
give
But
their input on it, so I would be open to holding another hearing on the 22nd to see if there are, at least people who wanna write in about it, perhaps.
Yeah.
And give some opinions, cause it's, it would be nice if we had some direction from the public, whether or not they like these or not.
Yeah, and the only counter to that for me is that these have been things we've had on the agenda for several months.
Also true.
So this hasn't been the only chance for the public to speak towards them. I think most of them are pretty clean. There's one that I would say probably could be considered contentious, but I don't think that's going to change with public hearing. I think at that point, it's still going to be up to the public on the ballot to decide, you know, how they feel. I
And
think
once
we've
you,
done our due diligence. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
once you have the second hearing, there's not much you can do except removal.
That's
So
a
there's
good
no
point.
changes.
I hadn't considered that, yeah. That's a
It-
good
it-
point.
it- You know, it's, those are your options.
Sure.
Well, the other thing we can do is, I mean, it was all finalized shortly before Christmas. So people may not have had even a chance to really think about this and all of the stuff for the holidays. So maybe with it being aired tonight that, hey, these are here, these are gonna potentially be on the ballot. If you wanna look at them, they're on the website, get back to us, and then just, if it's the same cricket happenings next meeting, then we just move them at that point.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can't
Yeah.
make any substantive changes at that point in time.
Well,
It just goes, or it goes ahead, or doesn't.
Yeah.
correct.
So the only thing I would suggest is if we hold the second public hearing, which would obviously be January 22nd.
Right.
That would create a snow date for January 29th.
Cutting it close.
Because you don't have another option after that.
Right.
You know, you go into February, I think February 5th. You included the SB2 schedule in here for me. Oh, it's right here. Last day to hold final public hearing or proposed zoning amendments, so that's Monday, February 3rd. So that's pretty close.
The 29th.
So the 22nd, last day to hold first public hearing, this is the 20th. Last day to pose and publish notice for final public hearing, which is what we're discussing, would be January 23rd, so.
No, we don't.
Blair, if we actually, if we're calling it, I think the cleaner way is just to say, we're gonna continue the public hearing to January 22nd.
Yes,
Because if we say it's a second public hearing, we have to republish too, and then we might not have the time and the publishing schedule to meet that.
you are correct.
Good point.
That is-
Yeah,
that's
so
absolutely correct.
that'd be my suggestion, is that we,
But if anything were to change,
yeah,
you know, I don't think we have to worry about it too much because it's a deliberative meeting. And the citizens can get up to the microphone and they can make changes to warrant articles.
True. So we
They
could
can
just.
do it there.
Sure.
So perhaps we do ourselves a favor and just kind of
Do it
move
there, or
forward
can they just
here.
vote yes or no?
yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
just vote,
And-
make
They
sure.
can make changes. They can submit a piece of paper and say, I want to change it to this.
I don't know, I don't think you,
I don't think that's a true statement.
yeah, I don't, on the zoning
think so either.
warrant articles, I think the process is that they're gonna be changed at this point. I think once it goes beyond here,
Okay.
I don't think the deliberative session can change the verbiage of the
I think
articles.
they're read as courtesy.
Yeah, and you, right, you can't change the intent or whatever, it's, you can
Right.
clarify.
But it gets
basically-
voted up or down, yes?
I don't think these, I think any
Just
zoning
get
amendments
pushed to the ballot.
just get pushed to
It
ballot.
just goes to the ballot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good point too. Thank you for clarifying that too, so.
So if there aren't gonna be any, you know, past this meeting, if there aren't really any chances for any substantial changes to be made to it, and the voters have the chance to give their opinion on it when they vote on it, does it make sense for us to just go ahead and move it forward to warrant article? Rather than continuing the public hearing, since nobody's here and
Yeah.
people will be able to vote on it?
I wonder if there's some verbiage changing that can be done on this, because I've spent a week and a half, 2 weeks reading and rereading these and trying to make sense, and I don't want to be, what's the word? I'm
Adversarial?
considering our future selves as a board, sitting up here arguing what words that are written, that we wrote, mean, and trying to interpret them. And, you know, particularly on the steep slope, you know, it calls for an area, you know, 40 by 50, which, as being, you know, a 25% grade. And then right in the same exact section, it says, all lots shall be finished off with a 3 to 1 slope, which is a 33% slope, and I think it's self-contradictory.
It's not.
And
It's saying finish, cuts, and fill. One is talking about a non-disturbed surface. The second is talking about the final surface. So if you do allow grading to occur, so the existing surface that's there in its natural state is much different than what gets, something graded and created. So I understand you're saying we're allowing a finished grade of 3 to 1, but that's a lot different than.
it sounds like we don't know how to do math on grading.
No, but we do, because the finished grade is something that reflects construction as opposed to a disturbance to a natural grade. And we're actually allowing for greater disturbance by allowing them a steeper 3 to 1 slope. If you said it has to go back to a less slope, that's far more work that they have to do and far more disturbance. By allowing that steeper edge for the finished grade, for the side slopes, you're actually benefiting the developer, as opposed to taking something away from them.
And this also
Well,
isn't,
the other issues there are, Ed calls for and you wrote this, Ed, so
I didn't write this.
you didn't write this? Well,
And this is also very standard verbiage through many municipalities, and many municipalities start regulating this at 15% slopes instead of 25.
Yes.
So NHMA, OSI, a bunch of other
all
areas have
abutting
this.
towns around us do not have a steep slope provision.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
I work in Stratford and I know they do.
That's not an abutting town. I didn't look at Stratford.
No, it works for well,
So the other issue with this is it calls for a 40 by 50 area, which is,
so Mr. Evans, I'm just gonna cut it off. We've already voted on this as a board. You made these arguments already. We're not,
well, we're
it's not
talking
gonna change
about
this tonight.
changing wording and.
We're not talking, you're the only one talking about changing verbiage. Nobody else is here. This meeting tonight was for the public to have a chance to come and speak towards or ask questions about
I
these
will be here
ordinance.
as the public next meeting and speak, and I will sit there at that
And I, as
table.
chair, will have the option to allow you that opportunity to speak or not. So if, we're not gonna continue to rehash the same arguments every single meeting. You've had hours to talk about this already. We're not gonna do it again. So if you don't understand this, I would suggest you talk to Mr. Haney, and they can explain the difference in the verbiage. This is verbiage that is used for many other municipalities. We're not an outlier in this. We're actually an outlier because we do not have protection for these zones. And again, we're only applying this to major subdivisions, which is,
We have no
is-
protections for the people of this town to have housing. We are having a housing crisis, and we're tightening the noose on these
if,
people.
Mr. Evans, if that's the case, why are people not knocking down our door right now and demanding that we reduce the restrictions on our zoning ordinance? That is not occurring. What we are hearing most of the time are people asking for less building, less development.
Less
So we are still here to provide that
restrictions
balance.
on their rights.
No, we do not hear that. We hear majority of individuals here requesting more, that they
Well,
want
the
less
last-
development.
The last master plan I read, it said we need housing for all people of all ages and all income levels. It did say we need to build a steep slope, thing and.
It actually
tighten the
did.
noose.
It actually did. That was in there. This came out of the master plan. It was an action item from that master plan item. It's one of our last to address as
What
this
about the
board.
housing issue?
We've done some other
What are we
items on
doing
that to
to
address
plan
it.
for our future
Have you
housing?
seen how many
That's a question.
developments are going in this town?
So
Seriously.
I would say we're on pace in our development with the state. So the larger communities that have town water and town sewer, you're seeing a few hundred housing units being added. That's Dover, Rochester. But if you look at their population and percent of housing already, we're, I think, in line with that.
In multiple listing service last year in the real estate board, there were 5 new houses in the town. The previous year, there were a
We
bunch.
can't,
It was
we
$12
can't control how many
million worth of
houses, we
development.
can't control how many houses are built. I can tell you there were a lot more lots created in last year.
Yes.
And the year before that.
Yes.
There's a lot of subdivisions that have occurred and a lot of lots that were approved.
Yes.
But the developers and the landowners may not be building on them right away. They may wait 4 years. And I can think of a few on Stevens Hill Road, not Stevens Hill, Kennard and things like that are still not built.
Smoke Street.
Smoke
still
Street,
isn't. Fort Hill.
Mitchell, there's
Yep.
14 or plus houses that are still waiting to go. So we can't control when the developers decide to put the houses up, but there are many house lots that are already approved that are not built. So we can
Go
continue
talk to Dale. He'll show you the board, or even Alana.
So we have done our part, I think, as a board, and I understand your passion and everything else for this. But what we're doing is not an outlier. It is being called for by the town, or was called for. It's in response also to what we're seeing for development.
Ed, one of the things we do as a real estate office is we say, well, where do buyers come from? We have this thing called the Warren Report, and it prints out where all the buyers came from, and where all the buyers, sellers went to. And in this town, approximately 85% of the people that sell a house move out of town, and that 85% of the buyers is coming from other towns and other states, Massachusetts, Utah, Iowa, Maine, Colorado, and 15% of our people are buying. Why do we have an exodus of 85% of our population?
Because they can't afford the house.
I would say there's probably a
Because
number.
they can't afford it. And
No,
our
that's-
goal
so you're-
is to
no, you're
create
making
housing
extrapolations
that's
that don't exist.
affordable, and to allow people to be able to stay in this town, not make them move out.
I'm not gonna to make a straight line, answer from A to B for data when it doesn't exist. So 85% of the people move
Warren
out.
Report copies the deeds
number of
and
people-
the address of the people, and it says where they came from.
It doesn't ask
It's
them,
simple.
it doesn't ask them why they moved out, though, does it? The number of people I know that have moved out personally, it's because they retired and they moved somewhere else because they didn't want to be in a cold climate anymore.
Right.
Or they wanted to be in somewhere that was a completely different lifestyle. So what I'm saying is your data is great. It's good. It's very interesting to hear that 85% of sales that people leave, because obviously that changes the community too.
That changes the
85%
character
of
of
people
the
moving in, that's
community.
also considered a free market. So if someone's willing to come in and give you $1 million for your home, and you're saying, wow, I'm gonna go, I can take this, I'm out of here now. That's on you, but the data doesn't give you those two correlations, in my understanding, because it's not asking the question of why did you leave?
It actually does. We actually have that data. Yes, we do.
Then that sounds great. We can get that and try to use that
Send
for
it
the.
all to all of you
That sounds
guys.
like the
can
the master plan update.
Yeah, me
The
either.
master plan update on the housing chapter and the HOP grant, that's probably great for that piece of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for anybody working that.
So what I suggest is that we continue this public hearing to January 22nd with a possible snow date of January 29th, because we would have to take final action on it to move it to warrant article. Like, it doesn't just automatically go.
Yeah, you've got to have, the board has to vote. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're not voting tonight,
Yeah, I don't know why we're not voting tonight.
Yeah, I say just vote tonight.
I
Okay.
think you should just vote on it tonight.
Yeah.
So we can either vote, we can either make a motion.
Motion to accept all the warrant articles to be provided for town ballot. As worded.
Second.
So it's a motion by Mr. Severns, a second by Mrs. Bascom, to move the warrant articles 1 through 5 as written to the town ballot. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Aye.
and no abstention. So the motion carries 6-1-0. And now, I believe, Alana, I know you don't put the ballot together, the warrant articles together, but I think that is one of the things now that shows is the board vote, if that's needed, but that's why I repeat it. One thing I failed to do on case 25002 LLA, since we're still in the public hearing section, and it's okay that the applicant left, it was just the findings of fact. My understanding of the findings of fact was that the board found that the lot line adjustment was warranted and that it was taking two lots, making one of those lots more conforming and not detracting from the conformity of the parent lot in accordance with our zoning ordinance
Yeah.
and subdivision regulations.
Noted.
All right. All right, we have public comment. This is the time of night where we always reserve some time, or we try to always reserve time for anybody from the public to come in and just ask questions of the board. We just can't talk about specific cases or properties, projects, or applications, but anybody that just has general questions for the planning board, we welcome you to come in. There's nobody here, so we will move on. Approval of minutes, we have one set, yeah, that's great. December 11th, 2024, but that's great, I mean, we're staying on top of that. Does anybody have any questions on the minutes? They are in our packet.
Did you find anything, Drew?
I'll be honest, this one I actually have not had a chance to go over.
I went over it thoroughly, it was perfect.
Excellent.
I read it, but I wasn't here, so I couldn't comment
So
on
good.
that.
Picks up on this stuff right away.
Except to ask, are we going to revisit lines 40, the discussion that was brought up on line 40 and 41?
I think so. I think we should.
Okay, I agree. Lines 40 and 41, I think we need to revisit, have it on the agenda at some point to discuss how legal costs are recorded and if they could be split between departments and/or charged to the applicant. I'd like to see that latter part happen.
So Mr. Decker, I thought that might be good. So what we were discussing there, so obviously as the select board member, we've requested to be amended our fee schedule and the select board has approved it, shifting some cost back to applicants for plan review. This is in relation to that, but it would require some probably work within the town administration and such to see if that's possible. Because right now, when we've been sending things through to town council, I haven't seen a bill come back towards the planning board, so I don't know how that gets captured. So what SRPC has done for us when we amended the fee schedule to shift the cost back is they're keeping track of, case 1, 2, 3, plan review 2 hours or 2.25 hours, depending on what the increments are. And that way we have that to show. We have the escrow and we take it off and then we get it replenished as needed. This is just another way of us trying to be financially responsible for the town and making sure that the costs as appropriate are being charged correctly. That also said, when we've gone to the council to just ask for board support that we would not be billing back, that's also not coming back as a line item, so.
Right, so you would have basically like you said, an escrow, for lack of a better word, for the applicant fees to get just in and out with offsetting revenues. And then you would have your separate line item just for planning board legal advice.
Yeah. But the steps that it would take for the town would be
Right.
town council being willing to separate out case-specific
Well, they
costs.
should be billing for the
And-
right cases.
And then,
Because
whatever
that would be
add.
part of their, any legal stuff should be billing to the 10th of an hour or whatever, however they bill to the right case.
Thought they just billed hour, rounded up.
Okay, well, we bill 10th of an hour in my business, which is,
Unheard of.
so.
So obviously, we didn't want to create an extra process if it wasn't worth it. Like, I don't know what these costs are right now, how much it's
I don't
actually.
think it's extra process, I think it should be happening anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's something we can move forward with and try to just have that discussion and figure out.
Yeah, particular, like if people are submitting one of these open space subdivisions, there's a 40-page HOA document, and somebody has to read through 40 pages and discern what, does this fit and apply and the rules and regs, and it's, involved, and, they're dumping that on us, and then I think we saw a document recently that got, there's like 5 pages of changes to it. And, we're paying our lawyer to make changes to fix their lackadaisical submittal.
Yeah. And we do have it in our sub-regs and stuff that those costs will be borne by the applicant, but we've got to be better about if it's like a conditional, notice of decision that we include that in our verbiage for that part too, just to make sure that there can't be really any pushback. So I think as we move forward, I think that's something we should tackle early this year.
Can we just add that even to the application that they fill out and it has a little like initial? It says, I am aware that all legal fees will be billed directly to me or whatever the corporation is or whatever, so that they can never come back and say, I didn't know. It's like, you signed it, it's right there. You signed that you're aware that any legal reviews are gonna be charged to you.
Yeah, that's
They're
probably,
charged to the town, but they're
No.
paying them.
Not to,
No.
well, it will be charged to the applicant, and that their approval process can't be finalized until those bills are paid.
Yeah, if you do that, you want to do that for all the rest of the fees and stuff that are there too.
Well, I think they are anyway, the other fees are paid up front, right? Legal is one that wouldn't be
Everything's
able to
paid
be.
up front, or we have an escrow set up now for, let's say it's $500 or whatever we decided on as a board. The engineering reviews, the third-party engineering reviews are a little bit different, where we get the estimate for it, the applicant, I don't think we need their agreement, but the applicant agrees and has to pay for it.
We could get an estimate for legal fees and say, you have an HOA, it needs to be reviewed and you're paying for that.
Yeah.
I think it,
So I'd probably just have to take a look at our fee schedule and see if we have to add verbiage there, or if we just have to add verbiage to our notice of decisions, or make sure that when we do conditional approvals that we.
The decisions already always say all fees paid, right? That's one of the boilerplate ones.
Okay.
So that part is covered. But notifying them up front is always good. But the complaint is always gonna be the amount, not just the fact that they had to do it or not. They're gonna say, well, I thought it would only be $500, not $1,000. That's where you're gonna hear your
I think on the
complaints.
bigger ones, like Mr. Evans' point, 40-page HOAs, well, they paid their lawyer, a lawyer already to draft those, and they probably understand there's a lot. But you're right, it's,
and
they're written by lawyers, they have to be reviewed by lawyers,
Right.
or should be.
I just didn't want us.
To lose sight of that,
To
yeah.
lose, yes, exactly.
Okay,
Because
so-
I really think that the more we can make the applicants the carrier of the cost and not the town, the better we will be able to operate, because we won't be asking the town for so much and then having them go, because it's like, no, we basically would be paying for ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's within reason, it's balanced, it's not like, we're not inflating it exponentially or anything, it's just making sure that, the
I think
cost.
it's reasonable
Yep.
to accept, to tell the applicant that you're gonna have to pay all legal fees incurred by the town. That's a reasonable expectation. So write it down as a good idea too, but still it would hold up as a reasonable expectation.
or in the fee schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know we just went through those not that long ago, but I saw this and I'm like, that's a great idea.
No, you're right, and that was a part that was kind of missed, it wasn't missed, but it was something we realized during our budget review that that's not occurring for that piece of it, and,
Did you all ask Ellen about doing this?
oh, I can check, I can circle back.
I took a note to kind of bring it up, but, it would have been helpful if she's already on it.
She might
John
be,
was
but,
here, so.
Yeah.
yeah, the other John,
So you
John-
might-
Mr. Moran.
So-
I have a comment on the minutes. Are we doing that now?
Yeah,
Line 161. Motion carried 510 with Mr. Evans abstaining.
501.
5-0, I believe. That's it, for me. I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second
of Wednesday, December 11th, 2024.
It's amended.
So we have a motion and a second to amend, to accept the amended minutes. And again, the amendment, the only amended item was line 161, change the motion carried from 510 to 501, because it's an abstention, not an opposed. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
So that motion carries 601 with one abstention by Mr. Decker. Sorry, I'd like to keep notes in case for some reason the recording didn't work.
Same here.
I would like to point something out. In last year, the legislator changed the definition of abutters. And we have a definition of abutters in our zoning ordinance, which is not up to date. And I think if a case was appealed or notices are given for a zoning or any sort of legal process, that we should adopt the updated definition for the abutter, and that was accepted by the state on September 1st, 2024.
No, it's September, so this, yeah, we
So-
wouldn't have changed it yet.
Well, so we can't amend it now, because we're too late to post the notice for the first public hearing on that, I think.
Is it substantive?
Let me go back. But we do have a savings clause in our ordinance, I believe, that if there's something that we're, basically, if the state rule is different than ours, and in this case, it's not an area that we could be more restrictive on or something else, then the state definition would apply. So I'm just trying to see. the last thing.
Sorry.
So what do they change the definition of a butter to?
From the current
Very long one.
one to this new state one.
So,
I have the whole thing here.
You know, the,
Well, actually, it'll be in our regs.
No, it's not in there
Sure.
yet.
No, I'm saying it'll be in our new regs, right?
So why even have it in there if the state already defines it?
the RSA six
Because we like to
seventy-two,
have different definitions to make it confusing for ourselves.
Oh,
is it 672-3? And 676:4?
672:3, yes.
And 676:4?
I don't know about that one.
Hold on, would you do this correctly? You had to have read our definition of a butter, and it includes that other one. Is that the change you wanna make, the substantive change, remove that? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I did look at that, and I don't remember what it said, because I have
Okay.
a couple things in my brain, but yes, I did look at the abutter.
But it
and that-
obviously doesn't have that
And,
anymore, right?
and the updated state language is different,
Okay.
and that's from ours. And I think if somebody brought in a case to an appeal, or we're noticing abutters, that we should be noticing the right abutters as per state. Otherwise, we're opening ourselves to people appealing everything. Hey, I'm not in the butter, I am in the butter.
doesn't,
Give me notice.
regardless, it doesn't fault us. The requirement to notify abutters is in that law is on the applicant. So, if they misidentify somebody, we've had that come up where they used old tax maps and they didn't get the right abutter. So it's not on the town to define that or to ensure accuracy of that, and I think it says it right in our ordinance in the RSA. It's on the applicant to make sure that they understand the law and that they get the right people noticed, and if they don't, that's an error for them, not for us.
Do we provide abutters to applicants
no.
or verify them, or?
Sometimes I look them up for them and give them a list.
But it's still on them to verify the accuracy of it.
Assistance. It's assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think to your point, yes, if we have something that's outdated or wrong, I'd like to have it updated. We'll have to probably tackle that. I think it makes probably more sense to tackle that next year. But with anything in here, in our ordinance, we do have the savings clauses in it that to prevent.
I added it to the list, that ongoing list that I have.
Thank you.
It's
So-
weird, because like usually NHMA or like we get an update saying, here's something that needs to be pushed
That's
in.
exactly.
I was so focused on some of those other changes, like the ADU stuff and like the housing, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this,
But-
is what we have now the exact words out of the state law?
The current one, I don't,
No, not the current one, the previous one. I think it is.
It looks like it is,
And so my suggestion is butter, our definition would be as defined by RSA 672:3. And
That-
just store it.
that's.
might be the
Or
best way to.
subsequent updates, I agree.
Agreed, yeah.
No,
Thankfully, we'll tackle it next year.
I don't see that as substantive.
Good news, Mr. Evans, it's on the list to
But you
be
still have
tackled
to,
next year.
you still have to.
It's substantive.
You'd have to still have a
Yeah.
public hearing, I think, because you're changing the zoning ordinance, and we don't have anything, any clauses or anything allow us now to make non-substantive changes to the zoning ordinance without warrant article.
I hear you, except it's not substantive.
We don't have anything that allows us to change the zoning ordinance without a warrant article. So I don't think there's anything I don't think the town has ever granted us authority. You know what I'm trying to say?
Can't change this.
Yeah.
So-
Even if we recognize something-
Non-substantive is a misspelling or formatting, but I mean, you've heard of legal hearings turning on a comma, right? So you can't even do stuff like that.
You have to have another public hearing.
It's
Yeah, you
cleaner
have
to make sure.
You have to go
it's
through the whole
still
process, yeah.
The warrant, the notice for public hearing, hold a public hearing,
Right.
warrant article. So on the safe side, again, the actual butter notification is on the applicant to
Right,
be correct.
but that's not covered here in the definitions.
Probably not.
The abutter application process is not, it's just,
Well, yeah, this isn't a definition.
Correct.
Yeah,
so,
The process is covered elsewhere in the
correct,
ordinance.
correct.
right.
So, but as far as, what Chris is saying about changing the butter definition, yeah, this should be updated, but today's not that day.
I can ask council to say, is this an area where after the warrant articles are voted on, if there is a change to the zoning ordinance, could we just amend this to say, as defined under the RSAs? Or would we have to
Well,
have?
to RSA 676.
Yeah,
Whatever,
Whatever they are.
2:3, but.
But if it needs another warrant article.
but I can get council's opinion on it. And that way, if they say, nope, yeah, you're fine, just switch it, then we can have it
Changing the
updated.
state law, so that's why I look at this and say, okay, if this is what the state law says now and they changed it, then we're bound by state law anyway, so I see this as not a substantive change. But I'm not looking it up right now to see if it's the same.
I have no idea. I'll,
It's, the changes are dumb, but it is a change, and I did see that it was, from the Municipal Association, that it was listed as one of the things that changed last year, and it went back.
so I'll reach out to the council and I'll just ask council if we can amend this, as considered cleanup or based on the change in state law, or if, because we defined it, we need to change it somewhere, have a public hearing.
We have new council now, right,
We,
for the town?
yes, we have.
So if you're gonna ask the council to look at something, will that incur a cost? And how do we recoup that?
We don't recruit because it's a board.
See that? I can't put it on my butters list.
No, it's our, that's on us.
Okay.
Board support.
So there is a new town council?
We approved going to use a new council,
Who is it?
Drummond, Wood.
Portsmouth.
So I'll check anyway.
Actually,
I'll find out which
Not that
council
it
I
matters.
who I need to
You
ask,
should always have them check it.
and I'll ask.
Just to keep us all safe.
Like I said, if we're doing a potential reprint of the zoning ordinance at some point, that's an item we can
I
clean
do
up.
have the verbiage for that, Ed, if you want me to send it in to you.
Yeah, please, send it over just so we can,
Yeah, copy me on that, please.
so we got, who made the second on that? That was Mr. Severns on the motion to amend the minutes?
Oh, you want
Yeah,
me
no,
to
that's
tell you?
true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, second is Drew.
I only wrote the vote and not that. All right, select board, staff board member updates. We'll go around the room. Skip,
Oh, wait, we gotta do this.
is that on there? Planning board meeting calendar. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we always try to look at our meeting calendar and set it officially. Officially, it is in our packets. So we have, as always, we have our application deadlines and then the meeting hearing dates. So we get one application deadline per month and then generally 2 meetings a month, except for November and December with holidays. I don't think any of these fall on holidays, and the March meeting is, that first March meeting, when is town meeting this year? Does anybody know?
This year,
The first, third,
February 2nd or 3rd?
yeah.
No, March.
It is March.
Well.
Not deliberative
the
session.
So deliberative sessions are like in February,
yep.
March 11th.
but town meeting itself is whatever.
It's March 11th.
Tuesday that
I
is.
found it. So the only thing I would potentially propose is that March 12th meeting, we move. So basically, that's a lame, kind of call it a lame duck session, like,
Yeah.
the vote is not
Oh,
finalized
people-
until
Right.
the.
Friday after.
So
Getting
what we usually do is push that, so I'd say make that first meeting March 19th, and it'd be a non-business meeting, or the way the board's done in the past is potentially do non-business 6:30 to 7, and then do business 7 PM onwards. You know, that way you don't just have one meeting that month for business stuff.
As long as there's
And I don't think you need to decide it now, but, well,
stuff coming up, right? I
yeah.
mean, if we don't have any cases, there wouldn't be any reason to hold.
Right, you would just make sure that you would, so I guess what I would suggest is you amend this calendar to say the first meeting in March is March 19th, and that is non-public, or non-business. And then, so March 26th would be the only meeting that month for applications and continued cases. If we get something in between now and then, the board can always vote to change that, to make that a public meeting date, but that'd be the only change I see on here.
Well, as long as people get sworn in, right, would be okay.
But it's technically the recount period and everything else, so I think it technically closes like the Saturday after,
The what period?
like recount and
Yes,
Yeah.
the challenging.
the challenge period.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
It's never happened,
Yeah,
but
right, no, yeah, there is like a week or so or whatever. yeah.
Right. Yeah, you have till Friday or something. So I went through that with the zoning board last year, because our meeting fell right after it.
and thank you for including the joint meeting, no regular business on here automatically for August. I think that's good to continue to have that, and know we'll schedule it and putting on the calendar. Gets those invites out very early to all parties involved. So would anybody like to make a motion to accept our 2025 Nottingham Planning Board meeting schedule as amended?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bascom, is there a second?
And third, fourth.
Second by Mr. Evans. So again, the only change to the schedule as drafted was we are removing the March 12th meeting, making that March 19th as a non-business meeting, meaning the only business meeting for March will be March 26th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, that motion carries 7-0.
Now we can do the.
All right, now staff board member updates, unless I missed something else on the agenda. Mr. Severns.
I have nothing.
Mr. Evans.
I have a request. Claire, when we can get her out to you, can you discuss about this update on this master plan business and how we interact with that, and if the select board has given their blessing on that grant, and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, that was my plan for part of here. The select board accepted the funds, so the project is basically getting ready to get going. There is a housing academy that's hosted by UNH, and the town can send up to 3 people to this. And it seems like it's best if you get through a little bit of the housing academy before you get the project going in earnest, but behind the scenes, I am getting things going and starting to pull together some of the data and stuff. So for the town, you need to need to make 2 decisions. One is, who's gonna be sort of the working group for the project? Is it gonna be this board, or are you gonna wanna make a board, like an ad hoc committee, temporary type of committee? And then once you sort of make that decision, you gotta decide, you gotta find 3 people, up to 3 people to go to the housing academy. It's 2 in-person and 2 virtual sessions. If you can't make one of the 2 in-person ones, it's not the end of the world, but ideally they would love the people that are chosen to go. Hopefully we can find 3. Hopefully we're not scrambling to find 3, but that's the ideal number. Or that's the maximum that, they'll recognize from each community. So those are 2 things that I was gonna bring to the table now. You don't have to make that decision at the moment, but start thinking about it. Because
How long are these, in-person sessions and online sessions? Are they all day type thing?
that's a good question. Shoot. And you know what? I've got the schedule somewhere.
Well, so I guess my question on that is, So I think even though the acceptance of the HOP grant went to, the select board had to approve that acceptance, and as far as I know, they did. So there's information on the HOP agreement in our packet, if anybody's curious. So I would suggest probably what we've done in the past is create a subcommittee of this board, if it's this board's purview, create a subcommittee of that, and we would post a public notice discussing the award of the HOP grant to the town of Nottingham, and then indicate that we're looking for volunteers from the community to serve on a subcommittee. Usually, and then outline some of the criteria there, if there's like dates and meeting specific things, to try to make it so people understand what they're potentially volunteering for. And then hopefully get some volunteers. And if not,
I
then,
should think it would be a mix of this committee and zoning.
yeah, and public, and,
Yeah.
yep, agreed.
Yeah, a good one has some, has a good mix, but it's hard in a small community to get people to volunteer and do things. I mean, you know how hard it is to fill the boards, right? And all of you are already doing things, so do you want to do more stuff? We get it, you get burned out, but that's what it ends up being. So, whatever it sounds like you have a process. If you can pull town staff in,
We haven't done it that way, but we can.
Oh, well, then, yeah,
We
whatever.
haven't done it in a while. We haven't had a subcommittee in a while, but I'm just saying that we can put a public notice requesting, volunteers for a subcommittee specific to this, and, again, give some of the verbiage as to what it is and why, and what we're looking for, and what maybe a little of the demands are, without making it too long. But try to at least get gauge some interest from the community and other boards to serve on that subcommittee.
Is there a way that, or do you have the time, I should say, to write up a little
That's what
blurb
yeah.
that could be posted on the cable channel as well as the website, so that when somebody goes to the town website, it pops up as a need that we have?
That's exactly what I'm writing down. Draft this project summary for volunteer recruitment. So,
Yeah, but then, pass it off, and would
Well,
you be
yeah.
able to make that happen, do you think, or find somebody who can? Okay, just because I think the best way to get that information out would be for having it as a thing that flies by on the cable, and as well as to have it be, as soon as somebody goes into Nottingham's thing, it pops right up as, this is happening and we need some help.
And maybe include it in the, write-up for the town report.
Yep.
Yeah. And then a notice on the front door,
Yeah, depending on how soon we have to have it created, because
Yeah.
that town report doesn't come out.
You gotta have more than one place. Because
March
Channel
13th,
22 is
right?
for Comcast customers only.
Right.
Not everybody has Comcast.
right, and that's why I was saying the town website as well. I mean,
Multiple places.
try to hit, a few places, because
Who has a plane with a banner? Anybody got a plane with a banner?
There's also
Skip does.
reporting requirements.
If I looked right at him, I didn't know.
There's also reporting requirements with that
Yeah.
too, so we
Oh, yeah.
can make sure that we.
well, that's
Yeah.
part of my job.
Thankfully, that's why SRPC is our consultant, I think is the definition of what you'll be called on this, but,
So Blair, you've done this in other towns. What have you done as far as community outreach, or is that something that you guys kind of set up and do, survey or whatever, or?
Yeah,
the
that's
board- this committee does, or kind of both?
So a major focus of the Housing Academy is focused on the outreach piece, the public engagement piece. That was an important part of the passage of this funding by the legislature, was to have a robust, engaging, robust outreach and public engagement. For the two projects that I worked on, New Durham and Somersworth, it was a variety of things. As you can imagine, those are two vastly different communities, right? New Durham can't cobble together much because they're very small, and it's only the same handful of people. But they had a housing navigator, which was basically a staff person specifically for doing housing stuff. So she was housed in our offices and was able to do a lot of it. Somersworth, they just have a larger budget, they have more experience, and they have better outlets. They already have email lists and stuff, so they found ways to do it. But there is budget as part of the grant that is dedicated to outreach. So if you wanted to do, like we made postcards and mailed them out to maybe everybody. I'll have to go back and check. But printed flyers and put them in various community buildings, library, public works, rec department, town hall, post office. Sorry.
Liars would be a good one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Liars is a great place to put stuff like that if they agree to it. So, yeah, there's various ways of doing it, kind of guerrilla style, just getting it out there and being all interactive. So, yeah, there's techniques that we've been using, and then there's the tried and trues of getting out into the cable world and, Facebooker and all that fun stuff.
Well, I'll do the Housing Academy thing, put me down for that.
Yep. Well, that's the board's gotta, find, once you identify who your team is, then within that team, you find your three. So,
We'll definitely put you down as a volunteer, so.
yeah.
Anybody volunteer?
Yeah.
You're locked
Yeah.
in, so it's,
Yeah.
so
I'm just trying to see if I can find where the days are. I'm not.
That's all right.
They mailed it to me,
If
but
as long as it's not this, next week, we're okay. We'll get that shared out as we draft some of that up. But that's exciting.
they're having another sort of project kickoff tomorrow. They already had one. They're having one tomorrow. It's where the state goes over some of the things for the grantees so that they know what they have to do, like reporting, like this housing academy. They go over some of that basic stuff. So I can find that to you and forward it. You probably won't get it till the morning, but it's tomorrow at like 4:30 or something,
May I
3:30.
ask a question about this
That's
committee?
something we
Sure.
should go through.
So if somebody volunteers for the committee and they're on a board, and then there's an election, they're no longer on the board, does that change anything?
Not unless the committee structure was set up, says, oh, it's only people that are on boards, but it doesn't sound like the
Because in
case.
the middle of it, there's gonna be an election.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, when you create subcommittees, oftentimes at least one member of the board is in that subcommittee. And then it's gonna be comprised of anybody else.
Citizens.
Right,
Unless
community, yeah.
the committee to be a representative of various boards, I wouldn't suggest that for just that reason.
Right.
But we had a couple of selectmen, over the years, we utilized selectmen, past selectmen, some future selectmen, conservation commission members, planning board members, and zoning board members, from what I remember.
Yeah, and the John Q. Public too, because you need to have somebody from
Well, there
public if you
wasn't,
can.
at the time, none of us were on boards, so we were public.
Yeah.
Nobody signs up for this, I'm sorry. I mean, there's very few people that sign up to do this.
Hey, I saw one do it just now.
Um,
Chris?
So, answer your question.
I
Drew.
actually read town master plans and have read too many of them.
You have a very
The
boring life.
in-person training is February 12th and 26th, 9 to 1 a.m. Oh, Jesus, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
All right, that's a little more reasonable.
Yeah. But they are in, I think they're in Concord. So, and then the other ones, the webinars, January 29th and March 12th, an hour and a half each.
So it's definitely not a requirement to be in a committee to go to all these, but several.
No,
people in
only
the committee.
3. It's up to 3. So,
Should go.
and the point of it is you have to develop a public engagement plan as part of your planning process, so, yeah.
So, plan, we'll try to put something on the agenda, our agenda again for our next January meeting, just to make sure we don't forget. What the verbiage on that agenda would look like, I'm not certain, but let's discuss subcommittee or sending members to pop grant training or whatever the exact verbiage of that was.
Housing.
Housing
Housing Academy.
Academy, there we go. All right. Mr. Decker?
I don't know what do we?
Usually just like quick recap of like any select board stuff that's.
Rah, rah, Nottingham.
What has the select board done this week?
Updates.
What's good?
Mostly budget stuff and
CIP is finalized.
CIP is finalized, but that's, right, that's outside of select board, but, CIP is finalized. Budget has been gone over with budget committee, and, we did select to go forward with a new, attorney. Not sure what else.
The only thing I can ask the town administrator on, so if I do have a question for council between now and the next planning board meeting, do I still go to our current council, or do you know when the cutover date is? It might not be known yet.
So there's no specific cutover date.
Okay.
Basically, what we decided was
Phase out.
phase out with
Yeah.
new stuff versus existing stuff. and-
Okay. All right.
Bring your request to Ellen, she'll be able to line it up.
Right, exactly,
Okay. Perfect. Just asking.
because it's not a contract.
Uh, Just Happy New Year to everybody. It's, stay warm out there. Watch your pipes. Use wood stove, especially, corners of houses and things like that for the forced hot water. It's, problem areas, so just take care.
You having some experience there, Ed? Something happened?
Insurance side of things, yeah. It's,
I'm sorry.
that's
It's
where
spewing tonight.
it goes, so.
That's
No, it
embarrassment.
doesn't become a problem until it warms back up. That's when
Yeah,
it all.
oh, there you go.
Right,
leaks
and it
occur.
defrosts, and then the water starts squirting out.
Exactly, yeah.
Nothing for me, no.
No updates from me.
Shane?
Well, I did cover that update about the HOP grant, forming your committee, and then Housing Academy, so we got that one covered. The only other thing I wanted to mention for you all is that next week, a week from Thursday, tomorrow, is the monthly webinar lunch series that the Office of Planning and Development does. It's a 1 hour, 1.5 hour session where they just go over a topic. They're always very good. This is development on a Class 6 road. So that's the topic. The reason why I suggest this one is because it just, roadways and rights of ways are always such an issue. It's very convoluted because as we're talking tonight, 3 rods, 4 rods, how many rods wide is the right of way? And right, what, for a lot of this historical
You're
stuff.
probably aware of our camp road thing.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
It's an issue in Nottingham.
It's an issue, and it's a source of confusion for a lot of people. So while this isn't directly addressing that, it will obviously have to get into some of that, just how do you look at roads and right-of-ways and stuff. So it's worth attending if you've got an hour.
I had a question. Do any municipalities proactively work on these paper streets and things like that are, I was just looking at Stevens Hill Road, and on Google and on Bing, and I think on our town maps, the GIS, it says Sachs Road, like where that corner of Stevens Hill Road is. It shows Sachs Road continues off, and then it becomes some other road when it hits Deerfield. But I'm like, there's no road there. Like, I've never,
There is a
a
road.
dirt or some kind of logging.
There's a,
but-
there's a nice path there.
But again, so would probably be considered like a paper street or something else that's there, but it's never been
Well, paper
abandoned by,
streets are
or
typically,
never been abandoned by the town fully. So if someone were to come in, they could try to say that that's still a road and it's not class 5, but it's class 6 to your point. And
That's the same off of Case Road too. There's a couple, John Commander
Yeah.
Lane and Batchelder Lane.
we've had a
that
few
are
others where there's like,
actual
Summer
streets.
Road or
well,
something
the
like that.
paper roads are kind of like the ones that
Are on
get
a plan.
started as a result of the
Yeah.
bicentennial, the 1722 people,
Okay.
okay, that thought this area was flat and did straight roads and all that. And Falzone got into a mess down there in Francesca and Michaela, because one of the roads, I think it was North Road, ran through there. And that was set up as like a major road. That was like 7 rods wide or something. I don't know what for, but I mean, they didn't have interstates, but.
But they used to have the
large-
marching of the parades
Yeah,
of the
right.
soldiers of the
Yeah, a
World War
large part
II.
of that had to be manipulated to be okay to subdivide. Kind of like we were talking with the lots, all the various involuntary and voluntary lots, mergers and stuff, same kind of deal. But those things disappeared as horses created roads, and horse and buggy created roads, and so forth. And so, a lot of our roads are surveyed as a result of subdivisions.
Right. Yeah, I was just curious, I didn't know, like, you know, these ones that don't have any housing, you know, or anything like that. Like, what do towns do to prevent it from?
If you go in Arizona, it's easy.
If there's, so paper streets, as I understand it, are literally that. They only exist on paper, right? Someone gets a subdivision approval, they record it in the registry of deeds, and now it exists on paper. Until they come in and request to rescind and then file that with the registry, it's gonna exist in perpetuity on paper.
Correct.
That doesn't necessarily mean that they have an approved subdivision, because if there were conditions or something that were not followed through on, then they might have to come back and either get an amendment or file a whole new one.
But no town that I'm aware of goes through and
All the ones
planning board
up the country
rescinds
are signed
like
off.
that section of road because it was never built.
I think that has to be done by somebody else. I don't know that the town can do that, because the town's action has already been taken to approve the road. The fact that someone chose not to build it, you know,
But
that's just.
before planning, even the building inspector could have signed off on the plan
Yeah.
that's on a napkin.
No, I was just curious because that one threw me
That's
off.
Pawtucket.
I'd never
That's my
seen that show
neighborhood,
up
yeah.
Yeah, that's Pawtucket.
on a road before.
You can find
that-
all those roads.
That road, you know.
Well, I'm working with Nancy right now. The town has somebody
Owned by somebody.
that has come in, is trying to bring the town's parcel data layers and street layers up to date, because you guys haven't filed any new subdivisions with the DOT, with your own CAI, the GIS people, since 2022. So she's gonna bring it up to date, and through April of last year, and then we'll do it again this coming year for April through this year.
Do you interact with the CAI people?
I do not, because it's your contractor. But if the town gives us approval, our GIS person will talk to CAI and get the data layers so that we can add it to our parcel database. We have a pretty robust one, and it includes all the other data layers, like the ones you see down your halls that you guys always ask about. All that stuff is in there, but now it'll reflect the, you know, because the parcel and street layers are the base layers that everything's built off of, right? All that data and stuff, all that stuff out there. So having this up to date, you know, having missed the last 3 years, 2-3 years of subdivisions and stuff. And I point this out because we have run across, because I was just emailing with her today. She's like, what do I do about paper streets? I'm like, well, funny you should ask. And, you know, you gotta leave them there.
Thanks. Sorry, it was just curiosity on that
Are
one.
there 2-foot contours on CAI?
I don't think so, not
I think there are in other towns, but not in this
We
town.
have pretty limited layers, like all
I was
our
just gonna
layers
say,
aren't on there.
typically, no, you usually do 20 foot, because 2 foot gets very data heavy, and it makes the loading and processing, when the CAI is really just for tax assessing purposes. This is my lot, it's generally right here, it's generally this size, it's generally the zoning. Like, I don't even think you have zoning on your,
But Granite View, Granite without an E, Granite View, it's a free thing, it's created by UNH and others. That has a lot of layers you can add. You can add the different LiDAR layers with
Yes.
2-foot contours.
we
You can
pull a
add
lot from
of
them,
layers.
too.
This out from
You can do
Yeah.
the parcel
Granite View.
data, so they'll update it with parcels,
base layers.
municipal
tons of
parcels
data.
and stuff, so
Yeah,
that's
so-
where I go to if, you know.
If once Nancy's done and CII updates, then that has a huge trickle-down effect for a couple of reasons. I think I mentioned this last time, one of the last meetings, was that the number of road miles that you have, if you get that all over to DOT, that affects your allotment of the bond bill that comes out of DOT for transportation funding and stuff. So once you get this in there, it'll show that you have this increase in road miles, which should, hopefully with the formula, kick you guys extra money for road-related items.
Even just, I wonder if even just the change from some of the lake roads, things like that were now public roads.
Yeah, that too, yep.
Just that, added miles of roads.
So you'll have DOT, Granite, and SRPC, who all can get updated data layers through this update.
But SRPC does a lot that
I think
we're not always aware of, that does a lot for our municipality and beyond.
Yeah.
I think our town only does it on assessing updates, right? when they,
It's supposed to be done annually, but it just,
but it's only based on when they have lots to assess with, homes on them, I believe is the way they're doing it. But
I think if you have a paper street and a parcel and a new parcel, so like I think if you have 10 acres and it's one single parcel, I think it's assessed at one value. If it's 5 lots on a road,
It's more.
it's more, and then once you get to add a house, then it's even more.
Right.
So, yeah,
This assessment's on April 1st.
but it's only done once every year,
But yeah.
if it's done at
But
all.
assessing is like every 5.
That's valuations.
I understand that, but I'm just saying,
But we reevaluate every year.
yeah.
Just a fifth of the
not
town.
everything.
Yeah, fifth of the town every, yeah. And all new lots should
We're
be.
gonna catch the stuff that they catch,
Well,
basically.
if you apply for a building permit, theoretically, that goes to your
Yep,
assessor.
that's one, yep.
And if you apply for a subdivision, then that should be recorded. They also get all the deeds, so they know, they keep track of the database for
Transfer
all the
deeds.
deeds. So theoretically, they may not be completely up to speed and date.
Alana, do you have anything for us? No? All right, I'll move that we adjourn. It's 9:25. I think we adjourn.
Second, yep, let's go.
Adjourn. Thank you, everybody. Stay warm out there.